Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a video on my thoughts on the Daleks trailer that dropped after the Time Lord Victorious panel at New York Comic Con, which was ironically a lot more, if you haven't already seen my previous video on the New York Comic Con sort of thing about, you know, Series 13 or Resolution, whatever the fuck it's called. The new one for the newest episode, to like, yeah, that was a bit stupid. But basically, if anything, this made up for it because this one was a lot more eventful. We had James Goss and Nick Briggs, as well as two actors even, two actors from doing this Daleks even sort of thing. And yeah, basically it's called Daleks, like big bold letters and a exclamation point and that, and it's a 5-part animated miniseries that's free, that is going on the Doctor Who YouTube channel, which I'll be honest, I'm really I mean, I'm happy about it, don't get me wrong, but I'm more shocked by it because it feels such a Russell T Davies / even Moffat sort of thing. I mean, maybe not even Moffat-esque really, because I distinctly remember, I'm pretty sure a little kid did say to Moffat at a convention, you know, would you consider ever doing a Dalek spin-off, and he was just like, oh, there's not a lot really you can do with Daleks, dialogue-wise, they're very boring, aren't they? And it's like, well, yeah, but there is actual stuff you could do if you could be bothered. And that, I think, and this kind of will hopefully prove people like him and that, but yeah, I do think that animation is definitely the right move in terms of doing that, because it means that you can do it a lot easier during lockdown and that, and that for a start. And yeah, I think so far the only thing that I've really delved into and or sink my teeth into as a fan part of Time Lord Victorious is the comic and that, and I've only read obviously issue 1 of that, so of this recording anyway. It's the 11th of October of this recording, and yeah, basically why I'm surprised about this is just the fact that I would have thought Chibnall having a Dalek special this year and or it being on either Christmas Day or New Year's, I would have thought he'd be like, no, you can't have this because this conflicts with me doing a Dalek thing and that, you know. And also the fact that we haven't really had any real animated Doctor Who in a long time. And by animated Doctor Who, by that I'm excluding obviously the animated classic Who episodes, because they're kind of different in my head in so much as they are animated versions of classic episodes that are missing, so they are just basically using animation to tell what was originally live action, whereas by animated Doctor Who in this instance I mean just purely animated for the sake of being animated, you know, as opposed to being animated and being based off something that was once actually physically filmed with actual actors and that, and whatnot, if that makes sense. I think, like, you know, we got like 2 major things, that the Infinite Quest during the Russell era and Dreamland as well. I feel like they were near the tail end of his run, or mid to latter end of his run, and I feel like since then we really haven't got any animated Doctor Who, and it's kind of a shame really. Yeah, these are free to watch, and I'll be honest, you can kind of see that a little bit in the animation. I hate saying that because it sounds awful, but I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously all the Daleks look brilliant, and I love I think the Daleks, the mechanoids, which I'll come on to in a minute, and the other main character people who are in these like glass boxes and then are just like pillars almost on wheels. I think one thing that I do admire about this is that it feels very Russell T Davies-esque in so much as, you know, one, it's an animated Doctor Who spin-off, and as I say, we haven't really got one of those since, I feel like the Russell T Davies era, but not only that, but I already, just from this trailer, get this sort of sense of fun, sort of balls to the walls action, you know, just sort of put the whole fucking kitchen sink in there, you know, and there are no rules anymore because the Doctor's not here, so fuck it, the Daleks can do whatever the fuck they want, you know. And I, as a massive Dalek fan, I am really looking forward to seeing something where it is just the Daleks, it is just them scheming and being manipulative and horrible and disgusting and that, or pitiful as well, you know, because apparently we're supposed to actually sympathise, God forbid, but with these fucking pepper pot bastards, you know, and that, and yeah, I love the variation of the Dalek voices from Nick Briggs in this panel. We kind of got that, as well as the fact that, like, I love the fact that that then is matched with the various designs of Daleks. You know, you've got that proper old school retro 2001 TV comic sort of Dalek Emperor with the big massive bulbous spherical dome thing that's ridiculous, but I love it because I'm an idiot. You know, it's not very practical, but it just looks so unique and different and weird. And likewise with the mechanoids, I completely agree with James Goss that, like, you know, they are one of Doctor Who's most weirdest and impractical, you know, sort of designed monsters and baddies ever, you know, because they're like, you need doors bigger than a supermarket, as he said in the panel, and he's not wrong, you know. Yeah, in the comics they were like the big baddie, the big nemesis and adversary for the Daleks during the sort of Dalek / mechanoid battles and wars, you know, and this is like, I don't know, like hundreds of thousands of years before the Time War, presumably, and that, you know, around the sort of first, second Doctor era of the show, and that sort of off-screen adventures with Daleks would have been taking place around them fighting the mechanoids. And yeah, unfortunately I don't have any action figure of a mechanoid, which is a shame. Granted, I have literally no space for one. But yeah, I think it looks very sort of Doctor Who meets Star Wars, which really could take a lot of people, or make a lot of people angry, or make a lot of fans not want to watch it. But for me, as a fan of Star Wars, I like this, you know. Occasionally I like the idea of Doctor Who trying to be a bit more flashy, a bit more, like, for lack of a better term, sort of epic and just sort of actiony and boyish, or, like, you know, just sort of stereotypical sort of, you know, action and yeah, like, you know, boys and guys like that sort of, you know, people with big guns shooting each other with lasers and that, you know, or at least I do, and that, but we very rarely get that in Doctor Who and stuff like Star Trek or whatever, but Star Wars does that way more, and it's nice occasionally to see that sort of stuff in Doctor Who. Although what I will say is, what's funny is that I had just finished recently Halo 4, the video game, and these characters kind of really reminded me of, like, Halo 3 ODST sort of soldiers on these, like, massive gun turrets, and that was funny, and yeah, and then these pillar-like creatures again kind of reminded me of, like, the Didaks almost, or something from that game, like Halo 4. So yeah, very traditionally sci-fi stuff, which is really cool. And again, what gives me Russell T Davies vibes is, not only does it look like a lot of fun has been had making it, and or maybe the stories that they're going to tell, but also the fact that, like, design-wise, you know, you've got these, like, stone-like, pillar-like characters with these glass boxes and faces, but they're like drones, or not drones, androids and that, and I just feel like Russell's era of Doctor Who was, like, sort of balls to the walls in terms of, like, alien baddie designs, you know, Adipose, Jadoon, so on and so forth, stuff like that, whereas Moffat was more the scary guy, the Tim Burton-esque sort of Doctor Who monster baddie / designer, and as I say, it just seems like a lot of these things are a lot playful. There was this one droid, this one gold, brownish, metallic-y gold-like droid that looked absolutely shit. I'm not gonna lie, it looked really bad, like, animated-wise it looked bad. As I say, the main three standout things are the Daleks look great, the mechanoids look pretty dope, and likewise with these pillared android character people. Other than that, some of the other bits and pieces look kind of ropey. The Dalek spaceships look cool. Them going through the time vortex looks alright. That one Dalek shoots someone so far, and that, which is just weird. And I don't feel like we've ever seen that before. Or a Dalek shooting all the way across, space, I guess. Having hundreds of Daleks flying around space is really cool. It gives me really nostalgic vibes, because I remember seeing that as like a 7-year-old back in the day, watching, Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways, so that's really cool. And then again, going back to those sort of retro 60s sort of comics, they've got the Daleks on those like hover like devices, which are in Dark Eyes, which are in some of the IDW comics with Doctor Who, all Doctor Who Dalek stories, and like likewise with the 2000 TV sort of, again, really retro Dalek drawings that people did back in the day in the 60s, I think it was. And yeah, so I think if you're a massive retro Dalek fan, or someone who knows of a lot about Dalek Mania, or somehow was someone who grew up during the time of Dalek Mania, I think you're going to absolutely love this, and this is probably going to be the love letter to fans of that time and era, and people who, as I say, much like myself, who are massive Dalek fans and want more Daleks and more varied Daleks and that, and there are some humanoid or some maybe human resistance people, but I'm hoping most of them get killed because I'm a very morbid, sadistic person. But yeah, it's only 5 mini episodes, maybe 10 minutes each, maybe, which would be a nice 50-minute long, like, feature length-ish sort of thing, or the equivalent of having one episode in the current run of sort of stuff and that. And I think they didn't say this in the panel, but the vibes I get from the trailer is that this is like the big prequel / prologue to Time Lord Victorious. I feel like I'd watch all this, then get the comics, even though the comics have already started coming out. But I'd watch all this and then read the comics myself. But then again, there are the books and then the audios and so on and so forth. But again, James Goss did go over, where's the best place to start. Whatever seems like the loudest, most fun thing to you, partake in that. I personally would suggest whatever you already have a little bit of experience with, go with that, if that makes sense. If you've been to one escape room before, go to another one that's Time Lord Victorious themed. If you've already read 1 or 2, maybe 3 comics of Doctor Who Titan comics, but weren't 100% on board with them then, but have that at least under your belt, maybe deep dive into the Time Lord Victorious comics. Or if you consistently buy Doctor Who magazine or get it on subscription, then you've already got something coming your way via the Time Lord Victorious sort of stuff, and those magazines having, as I say, the Ninth Doctor sort of thing, the Ninth Doctor sort of stories, which I haven't experienced yet, but I really do want to, because I'm a massive Ninth Doctor fan, and it's based around the dark times with the vampires, which again, as a fan, I've always found fascinating and have never really seen much material based around that sort of time period, although I guess State of Decay kind of is that, although I've never watched State of Decay because I don't have it on DVD, but there is that Blu-ray compilation thing with all the stories that have some sort of highlight and or thing related to Time Lord Victorious. There's a lot to get, basically, and I am feeling a little bit overwhelmed as a fan, weirdly enough, which is really weird because, again, for the most part, other than this Time Lord Victorious thing, as a fan since the sort of Chris Chibnall era, I'll be honest, I felt, other than now, the opposite, very much, sort of like we've been in a massive dry spell of like fuck all for Doctor Who for quite a few months, or quite a long period of time, like whether it be waiting from Series 12 to this new special, or from 2019 to 2012's, or 2020's Series 12, but yeah, thanks for watching. Please do comment, rate and subscribe.